The stars had always been silent until the day they answered back. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the emergency meeting room deep under the United Nations building in New York. Around the table sat the most important people on Earth. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, and scientists all looked at the large screen showing something that changed everything. 3 days ago, Earth's new deep space radio had sent its first message to the stars. The message was simple. Hello, we are humans from Earth. We come in peace. 24 hours later, something answered. The alien ship was huge. It hung in space just beyond Mars, dark and silent like a metal mountain. Earth's best telescopes could see strange lights moving along its surface. No one knew what those lights meant, but everyone was afraid. Sarah looked at the message that had come from the ship. The words appeared in perfect English on every computer screen on Earth at the same time. People of Earth, you will receive our representative in 12 hours. Prepare a meeting place. Resistance is pointless. Well, how do they know our language? Asked President Martinez of the United States. They've been watching us, said Dr. James Park, Earth's top alien expert. Maybe for years. Maybe longer. Sarah felt cold. If the aliens had been watching Earth, they knew about human wars, human weapons, and human weaknesses. They probably thought humans were just another primitive species to be conquered. The meeting room door opened. A young officer ran in with a tablet in his hands. The alien shuttle just landed outside Geneva, he said, breathing hard. They're here. 2 hours later, Sarah sat across from something that looked like a nightmare. The alien called itself Ambassador Zethkri. It stood 7 feet tall with gray skin that looked like wet leather. Its 4 arms moved like snakes and its 3 eyes never blinked. When it spoke, its voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. Your species has attracted the attention of the Galactic Confederation, Zethkri said. All intelligent life must follow galactic law. You will surrender your planet's government to the Hegemony Council. You will give us control of your military forces. You will provide workers for galactic projects. Sarah translated this in her head. Slavery. They wanted to make humans into slaves. What if we refuse? She asked. Zethkri's 3 eyes focused on her. Refusal means pacification. Your military will be destroyed. Your leaders will be removed. Your people will learn to obey. The other human representatives looked scared. General Morrison, the Earth Defense Force commander, was angry. His face was red and his hands were closed into fists. Sarah took a deep breath. What she was about to say would sound crazy, but it was true. Ambassador Zethkri, before you make any decisions, you should know something important. What you have seen of human ability is not our full strength. We have been holding back our real power for hundreds of years. We strongly suggest you do not attack us. The alien's 3 eyes widened. Then it made a sound that might have been laughing. Every species says this when they face superior force. You are afraid, so you lie about hidden weapons. I'm not lying, Sarah said calmly. Let me show you some information. She pressed a button on her tablet. The room's screen showed technical plans for human spaceships, weapons, and power sources. The aliens had been watching Earth's space program and military for years. They thought they knew everything about human technology. These are the specifications for our civilian technology, Sarah explained. Our exploration ships, our power plants, our defensive systems. This represents about 12% of our real capabilities. Zethkri studied the information. This is your best technology. We have analyzed your capabilities for many years. No, Sarah said quietly. This is what we allow ourselves to use. Hundreds of years ago, humans almost destroyed themselves with advanced weapons. We learned to control our technology, to hold back our most dangerous abilities. What you've been watching is us being careful, not us being weak. She showed more information on the screen, energy readings that didn't match any known power source, ships that moved in ways that broke the laws of physics, weapons that could crack planets. This is impossible, Zethkri said. No species develops such technology and then chooses not to use it. We did, General Morrison said, speaking for the first time. Because we learned that having the power to destroy everything doesn't mean you should. We decided to grow slowly, to be careful, to only use what we needed. Sarah nodded. We're showing you this because we don't want a war. We want to join the galactic community peacefully. But if you force us to fight, you need to know what you're really challenging. Zethkri was quiet for a long time. Its 4 arms moved nervously. Finally, it spoke to a device on its chest in a language that sounded like breaking glass. Sarah's computer translated the alien words. Request immediate contact with Fleet Commander Vextar. Minutes later, another alien voice came through the device. This one sounded harder, more military. Report, Ambassador. The humans claim to possess advanced weapons they have deliberately hidden, Zethkri said. They have shown technical specifications that suggest capabilities far beyond our estimates. Impossible, the fleet commander replied. We have monitored this species for 37 years. They have primitive chemical rockets and simple nuclear weapons. They are decades away from true space travel. Sarah spoke up. Commander Vextar, I can hear you. Please understand that what you've been monitoring is our public technology. We've had faster-than-light travel for over a century. We've had fusion power for even longer. We've simply chosen not to use these things openly. Lies, Vextar's voice snapped. Every species faced with superior force claims hidden strength. You are trying to delay the inevitable. Sarah felt frustrated. She had hoped the aliens would be smart enough to listen to reason. Commander, I'm going to send you detailed scans of our technology. Real scans, not the fake readings we've been broadcasting. Look at them carefully. She pressed another button. Earth's hidden satellites, invisible to alien detection, began transmitting their real energy signatures. The readings were impossible by galactic standards. Power sources that generated more energy than small stars. Ships that could fold space around themselves. Weapons that could manipulate gravity itself. Through the communication device, Sarah could hear excited alien voices in the background. Someone was shouting in the breaking glass language. Numbers were being called out. Warning alarms started ringing. This cannot be accurate, Vextar said, his voice uncertain for the first time. It's accurate, Sarah said. We're not threatening you. We're warning you. Earth wants to join the galactic community as a friend and partner. We're willing to share some of our technology to help everyone. But if you try to conquer us, if you try to make us slaves, you'll find out why we keep our real weapons hidden. Zethkri was speaking rapidly to its device. Sarah caught some of the translated words. Energy readings, impossible technology, recommend caution. But Vexitar's response was angry. No, this is elaborate deception. No species achieves such advancement and then hides it. They are using some kind of illusion technology to make us afraid. The hegemony has conquered 1,000 worlds. We will not be stopped by primitive fear tactics. Sarah closed her eyes. She had hoped it wouldn't come to this. Commander Vextar, fleet commander of the hegemony, I am giving you an official warning on behalf of the people of Earth. Do not attack our world. Do not try to invade our system. We have shown you proof of our capabilities. If you ignore this warning, we will be forced to defend ourselves with weapons you cannot imagine. Your warnings mean nothing, Vextar replied. The hegemony fleet will arrive in 72 standard hours. Surrender, or face the consequences of defying galactic authority. The communication ended. Zethkri looked at the humans around the table. For the first time, the alien seemed uncertain. Is it true? Zethkri asked quietly. Do you really possess such weapons? Sarah nodded sadly. Yes, and now you're going to find out why we tried so hard to avoid using them. As the alien ambassador left Earth, Sarah remained in the meeting room with the other world leaders. General Morrison was already on his phone, giving orders to hidden bases around the world. President Martinez was signing papers that would unlock technologies that had been sealed away for centuries. Are we really going to do this? Asked the Secretary General of the United Nations. Sarah looked out the window at the blue sky. Soon that sky would be filled with alien warships, and then those ships would learn why humanity had spent 300 years learning to control their darker angels. We warned them, she said quietly. We tried to avoid this, but if they want to see what humans can really do when we stop holding back, then that's what they'll get. The countdown to war had begun. 60 hours remained until the alien fleet arrived. Around the world, things that had been hidden for centuries were coming to light. Dr. Elena Vasquez walked through a corridor that officially didn't exist. The Cheyenne Mountain facility in Colorado had many levels. The public knew about some of them. The military knew about others. But this level, buried 3 miles down in solid rock, was known only to 12 people on Earth. Authorization confirmed, said the computer voice. Welcome to Prometheus level, Dr. Vasquez. Current countdown to hostile contact, 59 hours, 43 minutes. Elena entered the main laboratory. The room was the size of an aircraft hangar, filled with machines that looked like they belonged in a science fiction movie. Blue lights pulsed along metal walls. Holographic displays showed energy readings that would have terrified any physicist who understood what they meant. Status report, Elena called out to her team. Dr. Chen Wei, her deputy, looked up from a console. The antimatter plants are coming online. We should have full power in 6 hours. The gravitic manipulation systems are responding normally. No problems with the quantum field generators. Elena nodded. 300 years ago, her ancestors had built these weapons in secret. They had called it the Prometheus Project, after the Greek god who stole fire from the heavens. The name was fitting. These weapons could steal the fire from stars themselves. What about the fleet? She asked. Admiral Morrison's ships are dropping their disguises now, Chen Wei replied. The transformation should be complete in 12 hours. Above Earth's atmosphere, something impossible was happening. The mining ships, research vessels, and space stations that aliens had been watching for decades were changing. Metal plates slid away to reveal hidden weapons. Fake cargo bays opened to show missile launchers. Slow, peaceful ships suddenly blazed with the energy signatures of warships. The ISS-7 space station, which aliens thought was used for scientific research, unfolded like a deadly flower. Hidden sections extended outward, revealing particle beam cannons that could vaporize asteroids. What had looked like solar panels were actually targeting sensors powerful enough to track objects moving at light speed. Captain Sarah. Mitchell stood on the bridge of what the aliens knew as the cargo ship New Horizon. For 30 years, she had commanded this vessel on boring supply runs between Earth and Mars. The aliens watching had dismissed it as a slow, harmless transport. Now, as the ship's true systems came online, Sarah smiled grimly. The New Horizon was actually the HMS Retribution, a dreadnought-class warship with enough firepower to level continents. Her engines didn't burn chemical fuel. They manipulated gravity itself, letting the ship move faster than anything in the known galaxy. "Ma'am," called her weapons officer, "the quantum torpedo tubes are loaded and ready. The gravitic cannons are charged. All defensive systems are online." "Good," Sarah said. "How long until the fleet arrives?" 57 hours, 31 minutes. Sarah looked at the holographic display showing the approaching alien ships. 200 vessels, each one larger than anything Earth was supposed to possess. The aliens thought they were bringing overwhelming force against a primitive planet. They were about to learn how wrong they were. On Earth, more secrets were being revealed. Hidden factories buried under mountains began producing weapons that had been designed centuries ago, but never built. The plans had waited in quantum storage, ready for the day humanity needed them. In the Sahara Desert, what looked like sand dunes split open to reveal massive railguns that could fire projectiles into orbit. In the Atlantic Ocean, underwater cities that had been hidden for decades rose to the surface, bristling with defense systems. Dr. Elena Vasquez received a call from the lunar base. She had almost forgotten about the moon. For 100 years, humans had maintained a research station on Luna. The aliens thought it was a small scientific outpost with maybe 50 people. Prometheus Base. "This is Luna Command," the voice said. "All systems are green. We have 4,000 personnel ready for combat operations. The mass drivers are online. Repeat, we are ready to rain hell on anyone who threatens Earth." Elena smiled. Luna Base wasn't a research station. It was a fortress carved deep into the moon's rock. The mass drivers could launch projectiles at Earth's enemies with the force of nuclear weapons. The aliens had been watching Earth, but they had never really looked at the moon. "What about the outer system?" Elena asked. "Mars colony reports ready. Europa station is armed and waiting. The Jupiter orbital platforms are powered up." "Oh, and Elena, the aliens don't know about the Titan shipyards." Elena's smile grew wider. For 50 years, humans had been building warships in secret around Saturn's moon Titan. The aliens had never detected them, because they used technology that didn't exist in galactic civilization. Cloaking fields that bent light around entire fleets. Weapons that fired through dimensional rifts. Ships that could phase in and out of normal space. Admiral James Morrison sat in his command center, watching displays that showed the true scope of human military power. For decades, he had commanded Earth's peaceful space forces. Now he was about to lead humanity's real navy into battle. "Sir," called his communications officer, "we're getting reports from all stations. Every hidden base is coming online. The Titan fleet is moving into position. The outer system defense platforms are ready. Morrison nodded. What about Protocol Omega? Dr. Chen has given authorization for the first 3 levels. Level 4 and 5 restrictions remain in place. Morrison understood. Even now, even facing invasion, humanity was still holding back its most dangerous weapons. Level 4 included time manipulation technology. Level 5 included weapons that could destroy entire solar systems. Good, Morrison said. Hopefully we won't need them. His aide, Lieutenant Collins, looked nervous. Sir, are we really going to fight the entire Galactic Confederation? Not the entire Confederation, Morrison replied. Just the hegemony. The other species will learn from what happens here. On the alien command ship, Fleet Commander Vextar studied the sensor readings his scouts were sending back. Something was wrong. The energy signatures from Earth's system were much higher than expected. Ships that had appeared harmless were now showing massive power outputs. Commander, called his sensor operator. We're detecting weapons platforms throughout the human system. The numbers don't match our intelligence reports. Vextar's 4 eyes narrowed. Sensor ghosts. The humans are using some kind of electronic warfare to make their forces appear larger than they are. Sir, we're also detecting several large ships near the gas giant they call Jupiter. Our scouts report they've never seen these vessels before. Impossible, Vextar snapped. We have monitored this system for 37 years. We know every ship, every station, every piece of metal larger than a shuttle, but the reports kept coming. Ships appearing where no ships had been before. Weapons platforms rising from planets where none had existed. Energy readings that suggested technology far beyond what humans should possess. Vextar made a decision that would soon prove fatal. The humans are using deception technology to inflate their apparent strength. It's a common tactic among primitive species. We will not be fooled. All ships maintain course. Prepare for planetary assault. Back on Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen received the final authorization codes. As the planet's senior diplomat, she had the authority to remove the last restrictions on human technology. Her fingers hesitated over the controls. Ma'am, said her assistant, the alien fleet will be here in 48 hours. Sarah entered the codes. Around the world, the final locks were removed from humanity's most carefully guarded secrets. Weapons that had been theoretical for centuries became real. Ships that had never been tested in combat began their final preparations. In hidden laboratories, scientists activated consciousness transfer systems that could back up human minds. If Earth fell, humanity would survive. In deep space, automated probes that had been traveling for decades toward other star systems activated their colonization protocols. The most shocking revelation came from the Antarctic Research Station. What the world thought was a climate monitoring facility was actually humanity's most advanced weapons laboratory. Deep under the ice, scientists had been working on projects that even other humans didn't know about. Dr. Chen, came the call from Antarctica. This is Dr. Rodriguez. The Genesis protocol is ready for deployment. Sarah felt a chill that had nothing to do with the Antarctic cold. The Genesis protocol was humanity's ultimate weapon. She had hoped they would never need to use it. Keep it in reserve, she ordered. We're not there yet. As the countdown continued, more and more of humanity's true capabilities were revealed. Orbital elevators that were actually massive railguns. Asteroid mining ships that were really mobile weapons platforms. Peaceful research stations that could manufacture entire fleets of warships. The aliens had been watching Earth for decades, but they had never really seen it. They had observed humanity's public face. The careful mask that humans wore to appear primitive and harmless. Now that mask was coming off. Admiral Morrison received his final briefings as the alien fleet approached. Earth was ready. More than ready. The question wasn't whether humanity could win the coming battle. The question was whether the aliens would survive it. Sir, called his tactical officer, all ships report ready. The hidden fleets are in position. The defense platforms the alien fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 200 ships, each one a masterpiece of galactic military engineering. Fleet Commander Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the inevitable conquest, watching his sensors paint a picture of the human system. Status report, he commanded in his harsh voice. All ships operational. Commander, reported his tactical officer. The humans appeared to have withdrawn their forces to defensive positions around their home planet. We detect approximately 40 vessels and various orbital platforms. Vextar smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. 40 ships against 200. The humans were either very brave or very stupid. Begin the attack. Target their military vessels first, then their orbital installations. I want their resistance broken within 6 hours. What happened next would be remembered throughout galactic history as the day a primitive species taught the galaxy a lesson in humility. The first human ship to engage was the HMS Retribution, still disguised as the cargo vessel New Horizon. Captain Sarah Mitchell watched the alien formation approach, their ships moving in perfect military precision. Weapons range in 30 seconds. Captain, reported her tactical officer. Understood. All hands, this is the captain. For 3 centuries, Earth has chosen peace. Today we choose victory. Drop the disguise. Show them who we really are. The Retribution's fake hull sections ejected into space, revealing the sleek, deadly lines of humanity's most advanced warship. Energy readings that had been carefully hidden blazed to life. Weapons that could crack moons powered up to full charge. On the alien flagship, alarms started screaming. "Commander," shouted the sensor operator. The human vessel just increased its energy output by 8,000%. These readings can't be correct. Vextar stared at his displays. The small cargo ship had somehow become a dreadnought that outmassed his own flagship. Sensor malfunction. It must be some kind of jamming technology. The Retribution opened fire with weapons that operated on principles the aliens had never seen. Gravitic cannons that could compress matter to neutron star density. Quantum disruptors that unraveled the basic forces holding atoms together. Energy beams that moved faster than light itself. 3 alien destroyers simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not exploded, erased from reality as if they had never been built. What was that? Vextar screamed. What kind of weapon was that? Before anyone could answer, 39 more human ships dropped their disguises. Mining vessels became battle cruisers. Research ships became carriers launching swarms of fighters that moved like living things. The peaceful space stations around Earth unfolded into orbital fortresses bristling with enough firepower to sterilize. Continent's Captain Mitchell smiled as she watched the alien formation begin to break apart in confusion. Target the heavy cruiser on the left flank. Quantum torpedoes full spread. The torpedoes didn't travel through normal space. They took shortcuts through dimensions that aliens didn't know existed. One moment the alien cruiser was returning fire. The next moment it was expanding into a ball of superheated plasma. Impossible, Vextar shouted. How are they moving those projectiles through our shields? His tactical officer was frantically reading sensor data. Commander, the projectiles aren't moving through our shields. They're bypassing 3-dimensional space entirely. This technology, it shouldn't exist. Admiral Morrison watched the battle from his command center deep under the Pacific Ocean. The first engagement was going exactly as planned. The aliens were brave warriors, but they were fighting with sword and shield against weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics. "Sir," reported his tactical coordinator, "the Titan fleet is requesting permission to join the battle." Morrison shook his head. "Not yet. Let them see what our regular forces can do first." In space, the battle was becoming a rout. Human ships moved using gravitational manipulation, letting them accelerate and turn in ways that seemed to violate the laws of motion. They could phase in and out of normal space, appearing behind enemy vessels before disappearing again. The aliens fought back with courage that Morrison had to respect. Their particle beams and missile salvos were impressive by galactic standards, but their weapons were designed to fight other galactic civilizations. They had no answer for humanity's dimensional warfare capabilities. Fleet Commander Vextar watched in horror as his ships died around him. The humans weren't just winning. They were demonstrating technological superiority that should have been impossible for a species that had only achieved spaceflight recently. "All ships, retreat to position 7, he commanded. "Reform the battle line!" But the humans weren't giving him time to think. Admiral Morrison had studied every galactic conflict in recorded history. He knew that alien military doctrine depended on formation fighting and methodical engagement. Human military doctrine was based on speed, surprise, and overwhelming force applied at the enemy's weakest point. "Sir," called Morrison's communications officer, "the lunar mass drivers are requesting permission to fire." Morrison nodded. "Approved. Show them what a real artillery barrage looks like." On the moon, Massive electromagnetic launchers that had been disguised as mining equipment opened fire. Projectiles the size of city buses accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed before streaking toward the alien fleet. The aliens detected the incoming fire and tried to use their point defense systems. Their computers calculated intercept courses for incoming missiles or energy beams, but nobody had programmed them to stop solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. The kinetic impacts were devastating. Each projectile hit with the force of a nuclear weapon. Alien shields designed to deflect energy attacks were useless against simple chunks of metal and rock moving fast, enough to punch through planets. 7 more alien ships disappeared, in flashes of light brighter than stars. What? Are they firing at us? Demanded Vextar. Solid projectiles, Commander, his weapons officer replied, his voice shaking. Moving at 0.7 light speed. Our shields can't stop them. That's impossible. No civilization uses kinetic weapons in space combat. The humans do, sir. The battle continued for 6 more hours. Every time the aliens thought they understood human capabilities, something new would appear. Fighters that could fold space around themselves, bombers that launched black hole warheads, defense platforms that generated artificial gravity fields to trap enemy ships. The worst moment for Vextar came when the human vessel Prometheus, unbound, demonstrated humanity's most terrifying capability. The ship targeted one of his heavy cruisers and fired what appeared to be a small missile. The missile didn't explode on impact. Instead, it began to sing. The alien ship started vibrating at the molecular level. The crew reported that the air itself was humming with energy. Then the hull began to come apart as the missile manipulated the fundamental forces that held matter together. "They're weaponizing physics itself," whispered the alien tactical officer. Within 12 hours, the hegemony fleet had been reduced from 200 ships to 67. The rest were debris, expanding clouds of gas or empty hulks drifting through space. Not a single human vessel had been destroyed. Vexitar finally understood what the human diplomat had been trying to tell him. This wasn't a primitive species making desperate bluffs. This was a civilization that had achieved godlike technology and then chosen to hide it from the galaxy. "All ships cease fire," he transmitted on all frequencies. "Request immediate ceasefire negotiations." The human response came from Admiral Morrison himself. "Fleet Commander Vextar, this is Admiral Morrison of the Earth Defense Forces. We accept your request for ceasefire. However, you should know that what you've just experienced represents approximately 15% of our actual military capability." The silence on the alien command frequency lasted for nearly a minute. 15%? Vextar finally asked. "Correct. We haven't used our dimensional fleet yet. We haven't activated our stellar engineering capabilities. We haven't deployed our temporal manipulation systems. And we certainly haven't used any of our planet-killing weapons." Vextar felt something he had never experienced in 3 decades of military service. Fear. Pure, absolute fear of an enemy so far beyond his understanding that continued resistance was suicide. We surrender," he said quietly. "No," Morrison replied. "You retreat. Take your remaining ships and return to hegemony space. Tell your leaders exactly what happened here. Tell them that Earth offered friendship and was answered with threats of conquest. Tell them that humanity tried to warn the galaxy that we were holding back our true strength." Morrison's voice grew harder. "And tell them that the next galactic power that threatens Earth will face the full weight of human military technology. We won't show restraint twice." As the shattered hegemony fleet limped away from Earth, signals were already racing across the galaxy at faster than light speeds. The news was spreading. A species that should have been easily conquered had just destroyed the most powerful military force in known space. But the galaxy wasn't ready to listen to reason yet. Admiral Morrison received reports that 3 more galactic powers were assembling fleets. The news of the hegemony's defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. In council chambers on 1,000 worlds, alien leaders tried to understand what had happened at the edge of a small yellow. Star Supreme Admiral Kethmon of the Zilithian Empire stood before a holographic display showing the wreckage of Vextar's fleet. His crystalline skin glowed red with anger. Around him, the Empire's War Council watched in stunned silence. "Explain to me," Kethmon said, his voice like grinding stone, "how 200 of the galaxy's finest warships were destroyed by 40 primitive vessels." General Yixtar, military intelligence chief, manipulated the display to show energy readings from the battle. Supreme Admiral analysis suggests the humans used sophisticated deception technology. They made their ships appear more powerful than they actually were. 40 ships destroyed 200? Kethmon's voice rose to a roar. Even with deception technology, the numbers don't work. But Yixtar was already convinced of his own theory. The hegemony was caught off guard, Supreme Admiral. Vextar was overconfident. His formation was poor. The humans exploited his weaknesses. Across the galaxy, similar conversations were happening in the ruling centers of 17 different species. The crystalline collectives Overmind analyzed the battle data and concluded that the hegemony had been defeated by cunning rather than superior technology. The Void Watchers believed that humans had sacrificed their entire technological base in one desperate gambit. None of them understood the truth. The humans had been holding back. Dr. Sarah Chen sat in the emergency session of Earth's Defense Council, reading intelligence reports from across the galaxy. Human spy networks that had been hidden for decades were now providing detailed information about alien military preparations. "They're not learning," she said quietly. "The Zilithian Empire is assembling 800 ships. The Crystalline Collective is contributing 400 more. The Void Watchers are sending their entire battle fleet." Admiral Morrison studied the tactical projections. Over 2,000 alien warships were converging on Earth's solar system. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. "Recommendations?" Morrison asked his staff. Dr. Elena Vasquez spoke from her position at the Prometheus facility. "We could authorize Level 4 restrictions to be lifted. The temporal manipulation systems would let us age their ships to scrap in minutes." "Too dangerous," Morrison replied. "We start playing with time, and we might break causality itself." General Patterson, Earth's Ground Forces commander, offered another option. "The Genesis protocol is still available. We could demonstrate it on an uninhabited system. Show them what we're really capable of." Morrison shook his head. "The Genesis protocol stays locked until we have no other choice." "What about the Titan fleet?" "Ready and waiting," reported Admiral Chen from Titan Base. 50 ships using full stealth technology. They could phase strike the enemy command vessels before the battle even begins. Morrison considered this. The Titan fleet represented humanity's most advanced starships. Each vessel used technology that was literally impossible by galactic standards. Dimensional phase drives that let them exist in multiple realities at once. Weapons that fired through rifts in space-time. Defensive systems that could make a ship temporarily immune to physical damage. "Dr. Chen," Morrison said to the diplomat, "send one final message to the approaching fleets. Tell them exactly what happened to the hegemony. Make it clear that we used less than 20% of our actual capabilities. Give them one last chance to withdraw." Sarah nodded and began composing the message. She knew it wouldn't work, but humanity had to try diplomacy one more time. The message reached the galactic fleet when they were still 3 days out from Earth. "Supreme Admiral." Kethmon read it with growing irritation. "People of the galaxy," the message began. "Earth wishes to clarify recent events to prevent further loss of life. The hegemony fleet was defeated using standard defensive measures representing less than 20% of human military capability. We possess weapons that manipulate time, space, and fundamental forces. We can destroy stars, create black holes, and phase entire fleets into alternate dimensions. We do not wish to use these weapons. Please withdraw your forces and open diplomatic channels for peaceful contact." Kethmon crushed the message tablet in his crystalline fist. More lies. "More desperate attempts to avoid the inevitable," his tactical staff agreed. "Supreme Admiral," said Commander Rex Wynn, "intelligence analysis confirms that humans exhausted their advanced technology defeating the hegemony. These claims of time manipulation and dimensional weapons are clearly impossible." "My thoughts exactly," Kethmon replied. "All ships maintain course. Prepare for final assault." On Earth, Dr. Chen received confirmation that the alien fleets were still approaching. She looked at Morrison with sad eyes. "They're not going to stop." Morrison nodded grimly. "Then it's time to stop holding back. Authorization granted for Level 4 technology. Signal the Titan fleet to begin phase operations. Contact Dr. Rodriguez in Antarctica. Tell him the Genesis protocol is authorized for demonstration purposes only." Around the solar system, humanity's true military might begin to awaken. Technologies that had been theoretical for centuries became operational. Weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics powered up for the first time. The Titan fleet emerged from hiding like ghosts becoming solid. 50 ships that existed in a state between dimensions suddenly became visible to alien sensors. Their energy readings were so far beyond galactic norms that alien computers refused to accept the data. Captain Maria Santos commanded the flagship of the Titan fleet, the TS Prometheus. Her ship didn't follow normal physics. It could exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, letting it be in several places at once. Its weapons fired through tiers in reality itself. All ships, she transmitted to her fleet. This is Prometheus Actual. We are authorized for full-spectrum dimensional warfare. Show them what the human race looks like when we stop playing fair. The alien fleet detected the Titan ships when they were still 2 days out from Earth. The energy signatures were impossible. Ships that seemed to exist and not exist at the same time. Weapons that generated power outputs comparable to small stars. Supreme Admiral, called the Zilithian sensor operator, his voice shaking. We're detecting 50 additional human vessels. But sir, these readings can't be correct. Kethmon studied the sensor data. The human ships were showing energy outputs that should have torn them apart. Weapons signatures that used technologies the galaxy had never seen. Defensive systems that seemed to bend space around the vessels. Sensor ghosts, he declared. The humans are using sophisticated holographic technology to make us think they have more ships than they actually do. But even as he said it, Kethmon felt a growing unease. What if the humans weren't bluffing? What if their diplomatic warnings had been accurate? The first engagement began when human ships started appearing and disappearing throughout the alien formation. The TES Prometheus phased into normal space directly behind the Zilithian command vessel, fired a single shot that passed through all known laws of physics, then phased back into an alternate dimension before the aliens could react. The Zilithian flagship simply folded in on itself, compressed by weapons that manipulated gravity at the quantum level. What just happened? Kethmon screamed from his backup command ship. Unknown, Supreme Admiral, his tactical officer replied. The human vessel appeared to fire through 11 dimensions simultaneously. Our shields had no effect because the weapon never actually existed in our reality. The battle that followed made the hegemony's defeat look like a minor skirmish. Human ships phase-shifted through alien formations, appearing inside enemy vessels to fire weapons that unmade matter at the subatomic level. Fighters that existed as probability clouds rather than solid objects swarmed through alien defenses. But the most terrifying moment came when Admiral Morrison authorized the demonstration of the Genesis Protocol. Dr. Rodriguez activated the weapon from his Antarctic facility. It was a small device, no larger than a briefcase, but it contained technology that could reshape reality itself. The target was an uninhabited star system 20 light-years from the battle. The Genesis device created a controlled singularity that aged the target star by 1 billion years in under 10 minutes. The star went through its entire life cycle in fast forward, expanded into a red giant, then collapsed into a white dwarf. The planets in the system simply ceased to exist as time flowed around them at impossible speeds. Every alien ship in the galaxy detected the event. Long-range sensors showed an entire star system dying and being reborn in minutes. The energy readings were beyond comprehension. Admiral Morrison transmitted on all frequencies. Galactic Forces, this is Admiral Morrison. What you just observed was a controlled demonstration of our stellar engineering capability. We aged a star by 1 billion years using a device the size of a human briefcase. This represents less than 1% of our Genesis Protocol capabilities. He paused to let that sink in. We can do this to any star system in the galaxy. We can age your home stars until they die. We can create black holes in the center of your civilizations. We can manipulate time itself to erase your species from history. The silence on the galactic frequencies was absolute. 6 months after the Great Fleet's retreat, the galaxy was a very different place. The scattered remains of 2,000 warships drifted in space near Earth's solar system, a monument to the folly of underestimating humanity. But the real changes were happening in the halls of power across civilized space. Dr. Sarah Chen walked through the corridors of the newly constructed Terran Embassy, a massive space station built in the neutral zone between Earth and the nearest alien worlds. Representatives from 47 different species waited in the station's meeting chambers, all of them hoping to negotiate with the humans who had revealed themselves as the galaxy's new dominant power. "Status report," Sarah said to her assistant. "Commander David Park. The Zilithian Empire formally surrendered yesterday, David replied, reading from his tablet. They're offering to disband their military and submit to human oversight. The Crystalline Collective wants to discuss reparations for their attack on our system, and the hegemony. While they're begging for mercy, Sarah nodded grimly. In the months since humanity had demonstrated their true capabilities, the galactic power structure had collapsed completely. Species that had ruled star systems for millennia were now desperate to avoid Earth's displeasure. What about the war crimes tribunals? She asked. Ambassador Zethkri testified yesterday. He confirmed that the hegemony had planned to enslave humanity from the beginning. He also provided evidence of similar crimes against 37 other species over the past 2 centuries. Sarah felt sick. During the investigations following the war, humanity had discovered the true scope of galactic civilization. The major powers hadn't just been conquerors. They had been slavers, genocidal maniacs, and worse. Species that wouldn't submit to galactic authority were simply erased from existence. The Corvan people had been turned into a slave race for their skill at mathematics. The peaceful Deltans had been exterminated because their homeworld contained rare minerals. The artistic Vexians had been forced to create propaganda for their conquerors until their culture was completely destroyed. Humanity's response had been swift and absolute. Admiral Morrison stood in the command center of the TES Retribution, watching displays that showed human fleets throughout the galaxy. In 6 months, Earth had gone from a hidden world to the dominant military force in known space. Human ships patrolled every major trade route. Human weapons platforms orbited the homeworlds of former galactic powers. "Sir," called his communications officer, "we're receiving surrender documents from the Antaran Confederacy. That makes 43 species who have formally submitted to the Terran Protocols." Morrison nodded. The Terran Protocols were humanity's new rules for galactic civilization. No slavery, no genocide, no unprovoked conquest. Species that followed these rules were protected by human military might. Species that violated them simply ceased to exist. "What about the holdouts?" Morrison asked. "The Sakaran Empire is still refusing to free their slave populations. The Nexus Collective continues to harvest sentient beings for their neural networks, and the Dark Fleet pirates are still raiding peaceful worlds." Morrison's expression hardened. "Signal the Genesis Fleet. Operation Cleansing Dawn is authorized." Throughout the galaxy, human ships began to move with terrible purpose. The Sakaran Empire discovered that their entire military fleet had aged to scrap metal overnight. The Nexus Collective woke up to find their artificial intelligences replaced by human programs that freed every enslaved mind in their networks. The Dark Fleet pirates simply vanished. One day they were terrorizing trade routes. The next day there was no trace they had ever existed. Human temporal manipulation technology had erased them from history itself. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in her laboratory deep under the Antarctic ice, monitoring the Genesis protocol systems that now maintained order across the galaxy. The device that had aged a star, System in Minutes, was now being used to enforce humanity's version of justice. "Status report on the rehabilitation programs," she said to her team. Dr. Chen Wei looked up from his console. "The Corvan people have been freed from their genetic modifications. We've restored their original DNA and given them a new homeworld. The Deltan survivors are being relocated to a protected system where they can rebuild their civilization." Elena smiled. This was what the Genesis Protocol was really for. Not just destroying enemies, but healing the damage that centuries of galactic brutality had caused. Human technology could restore extinct species, rebuild destroyed worlds, and give hope back to civilizations that had lost everything. "What about the integration programs?" she asked. 17 species have requested to join the Terran Protectorate as full partners," Chen Wei replied. "They want to contribute to human technology development and cultural exchange." This was the part that surprised Elena the most. After seeing humanity's military power, many alien species had expected to be conquered and enslaved just like they had done to others. Instead, they found humans offering friendship, protection, and technological advancement. The Thylorans, a peaceful species of scholars, had been under hegemony rule for 3 centuries. When human ships arrived to liberate their worlds, the Thylorans expected new masters. Instead, they found humans genuinely interested in Thyloran philosophy and eager to share advanced technology. The Zenthari, warrior nomads who had been forced to fight as soldiers for the Crystalline Collective, were given ships and weapons and invited to help patrol the galaxy as part of humanity's peacekeeping forces. Even former enemies were finding unexpected mercy. Ambassador Zethkri, the alien who had first threatened Earth, was now working as a liaison between human and alien governments. His testimony about galactic crimes had helped expose the corruption of the old order. Why? He had asked Dr. Chen during one of their meetings. My people came to conquer yours. Why do you show us kindness? Sarah had thought about that question for a long time before answering. Because we learned something your people never did. Having the power to destroy doesn't mean you should use it. Having the power to rule doesn't mean you should dominate. Real strength comes from lifting others up, not crushing them down. In the Zilithian capital, former Supreme Admiral Kethmon sat in a human-designed rehabilitation center, trying to understand the new reality. His empire had been dismantled, but his people had not been punished. Instead, they were being educated about ethics, cooperation, and peaceful coexistence. The human counselor, Dr. Rebecca Martinez, showed him images of Earth's history. We understand the desire for power, she explained. Our species went through the same phase. We built weapons that could destroy worlds. We fought wars that nearly ended our civilization. But you controlled yourselves, Kethmon said, his crystalline skin dim with shame. You chose restraint. We chose to learn from our mistakes, Rebecca replied. We discovered that cooperation achieved more than conquest. We found that helping others made us stronger than ruling them. Your people can learn this too. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. Human teachers were working with alien students. Human doctors were healing species that had been damaged by centuries of exploitation. Human engineers were rebuilding worlds that had been strip-mined by galactic corporations. But not everyone was happy with the new order. Fleetmaster Zilron of the Void Watchers had survived the temporal attack on his ships, though his fleet had been aged to uselessness. Now he broadcast secret messages to the far reaches of the galaxy, calling for resistance against human domination. They are not gods, he transmitted to hidden cells of alien extremists. They are just another species with advanced technology. Their weapons can be studied, their weaknesses can be found. The galaxy belongs to all of us, not just to these upstart humans. His messages reached the outer rim, where some species had never encountered human forces. Pirates, slavers, and genocidal fanatics began to gather in the dark spaces between stars, planning their revenge against the human protectors. Admiral Morrison was aware of these movements. Human intelligence networks now covered the entire galaxy, monitoring every transmission and tracking every ship. But he chose not to act immediately. Let them gather, he told his staff. Let them plan their rebellion. When they make their move, the galaxy will see what happens to those who choose hatred over cooperation. Dr. Chen stood before the Galactic Assembly, the new governing body that had replaced the old Confederation. Representatives from over 100 species listened as she outlined humanity's vision for the future. We don't want to rule you, she said simply. We want to protect you. We want to help you become the best versions of yourselves. We want to explore the galaxy together, to learn from each other, to build something greater than any of us could achieve alone. She gestured to the mixed crowd of humans and aliens working together in the assembly chamber. This is what civilization should look like. Not conquest and slavery, but cooperation and growth. Not fear and oppression, but hope and freedom. The Thylaran representative, Ambassador Veldara, stood to respond. Honored humans, my people have studied your history. You achieved power that could have made you masters of the galaxy. Instead, you chose to become our guardians. This level of wisdom is unprecedented. Murmurs of agreement came from throughout the assembly.